Hi everyone. I've had a few questions this week about the final project, so just wanted to kind of go over a couple of things specific related more to the web techniques discussion that you're beginning for the project. So if you haven't already went to the project, over on the nav bar, here's the link to the final project. And within it, you'll see instructions up at the top, and then the discussion is right beneath it. So basically what we're asking you guys to do is to go out and do a little bit of research this week, and you're going to be looking for examples of web techniques. And basically what that means is you're going to look for examples of some innovative things that you haven't done before with your HTML and CSS. So trying some new HTML and CSS in your project by resourcing some things that other web designers have shared online. So we have given you guys some links, and I just wanted to kind of show you guys around and help you guys better understand. A lot of students usually at this point aren't really sure where to find them, and even when they look through these links, they're not really sure what they're supposed to be looking for. So if you think about what you've learned up until this point, some new things that you may have never done may have to do with, like, for instance, a nav bar, like in this website. CSS Play is a pretty popular one. There's a lot of demos, examples of menus, etc. So you're able to basically go through these websites and search for something that interests you. One of my favorites is a very basic website, but it has some great examples of, for instance, a horizontal list. So we'll go over to that example. So for instance, you guys have learned how to make lists at this point, but you've probably not made a navigation bar. So this would be a great example for you guys to choose, and you can go through the list and see if there's one that's specific to what you're trying to do in your project. The cool thing about these techniques is that a lot of the web designers have given you the code that you can then customize. So for instance, we can change what they say, we can change the color of them, we can change the look of them, for instance, the typography. And then you're going to be able to put them into your website. So the goal this week and of this discussion is for you to start looking at some of these examples. CSS Drive, let me go back one page. If you go to this website and go to CSS codes, you'll see a lot of examples here. So you're going to want to find something you haven't done already in the class. So for example, some of these navigation buttons and bars usually are pretty popular. Some other examples, CSS Tricks is a really popular one to have some examples of things you've never done before. So before this screencast, I actually searched for background images, and you'll see basically some of the things that come up here. One of the ones that I've pulled up as an example, for instance, the zooming background, not to say you would want to do that, but it might be of interest to you. A lot of students learn about how to implement background images at a very basic level in this course. So some of these may actually interest you to do a little bit more with background images. So for example, having the ability to resize your background images, that's something we haven't learned up until this point. So if you want to try it out, that might be of interest. Another popular one is various types of photo gallery techniques. So one example that I like to share with students at the beginning level is Lightbox. It's pretty easy to implement for the most part. And basically what that is you've got little images that you can create thumbnails, and when you click on them, they will make the larger photo. So this developer basically has the code ready for you to download so that you can include it. So the goal for the discussion is basically that you go through and look for some web techniques. Again, you're probably not going to find these on Google if you search for web techniques. So you may want to search for an image gallery or horizontal navigation bars or various things that are just a little bit different related to the code. So looking through some of the things that you have to do with this discussion, you have to go find 3 that you might use in your project. Ultimately, by the final project, you do have to implement 1 in your project. So this discussion is just helping you share some ideas with your classmates, and by the final project you can use something different. Even if you posted the 3 in the discussion, you can change your mind. Really the goal is that you start getting aware of what's out there, and then between now and the final project you try them out, and then once you've had time to try them, you get to choose which one you put in your project. These questions here that you've got to answer, it's just basically so that we get to see that You're sharing where you get the technique from, and then making sure you're looking at things like what programming languages are used. Usually it's just HTML and CSS. Sometimes some of them might include JavaScript. So you're going to want to basically be aware of that before, because it may take a little bit more work to implement if it uses extra programming languages. And then, of course, any restrictions. So if it lists that it does or does not work in another browser, that's a big consideration for you if you become a web designer. Is obviously if it doesn't work in older browsers or a current one, then you may not want to use that technique. So hopefully this helps you guys out. If you have any other questions, you can let us know. Otherwise, we look forward to seeing the examples that you guys find this week.